From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 9 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Russ Riesinger. President Trump campaigned in the key battleground state of Michigan as the fallout from a new tell-all book continues. Meanwhile, the Democratic presidential candidate was in Florida today. Natalie Brand is at the White House with more.
President Trump held a campaign rally in Michigan, a state he narrowly won in 2016.
We're going to win Michigan, and we're going to win 4 more years in the White House.
The latest CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden ahead there. Biden brought an economic message to the Wolverine state Wednesday.
In my first week, I'll sign a series of executive actions to make sure we enforce Buy America.
The former vice president also condemned President Trump after released audio recordings showed the president intentionally misled Americans about the severity of the coronavirus back in February and March. The comments were part of a conversation with author Bob Woodward for his upcoming book Rage, published by Simon & Schuster, a division of Viacom CBS.
Why did you lie to the American people?
I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm.
The president called the book a political hit job.
If Bob Woodward thought it was bad, then he should have immediately gone out publicly, not wait 4 months.
During his recorded conversations with Woodward, President Trump also acknowledged the existence of systemic racism.
Okay, but is it here in a way that it has an impact on people's lives?
I think it is, and it's unfortunate, but I think it is.
Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris traveled to the battleground state of Florida to meet with black leaders.
Real leadership is always going to be about leaders having the courage to speak the truth.
A recent NBC Marist poll shows both presidential candidates in a dead heat in that state. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
And both President Trump and Democratic candidate Joe Biden will be in Shanksville, Pennsylvania tomorrow to mark the 19th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. Shanksville is the site where United Airlines Flight 93 crashed after passengers fought back against the hijackers. Vice President Mike Pence will touch down in Bozeman next Monday in support of Senator Steve Daines. That event is free, open to the public, but people must RSVP and reserve a ticket to attend. In a statement from Senator Daines, he said he's thrilled to welcome the vice president back to Montana. Pence and other top Trump officials will also attend a private fundraiser on Monday. 2 more Montana deaths tied to COVID-19 today. The latest victim, the first death in Musselshell County, a woman in her 70s, and another death yesterday in Rosebud County. The number of new confirmed cases today, 202. That's the second largest jump since the pandemic began. Yellowstone County reports the biggest increase today, 75 more new cases. There is some little bit of good news in today's numbers. Although new cases spiked, active cases have actually dropped by 167. Governor Steve Bullock announcing a new set of protocols today to help schools learn how to handle potential COVID-19 cases. Bullock says his office and a group of health experts worked on the guidance after he received requests from school nurses and educators. The protocols cover what symptoms to check for, when someone needs to be isolated or quarantined, and when they should be allowed to return to school. They also include advice for sports and extracurricular activities about what information can be released if someone does test positive.
It is important that the public knows when a student or staff member tests positive in school, and we're working on how we can make sure that parents and staff have the information that they need while also protecting the privacy of individual students and teachers.
Bullock also announced additional funding for COVID relief programs. That includes another $25 million for Montana nonprofits and more grants for Montana meat processors. After less than a month of distribution in Montana, the $400 Lost Wages Assistance Program for the federal government is now ended. Since the last week of August, Montanans had received an additional $400 in unemployment benefits. A program was created by an executive order from President Trump to assist individuals who had lost their job as a result of the pandemic. In that 6 weeks, jobless Montanans received around $59 million in total. Democrats in the U.S. Senate blocked an effort by Republicans to pass a scaled-down coronavirus relief bill. And as you might imagine, Montana's 2 U.S. senators were on the opposite sides of the political fence on that vote. Majority Republicans needed 60 votes to advance the bill, but none of the chamber's 47 Democrats would support it. Republican U.S. Senator Steve Daines said it's beyond disappointing the Democrats blocked that bill, which he said included more money for businesses, schools, unemployment benefits, and COVID-19 testing. He said senators need to put politics aside and pass a new relief bill. Democratic U.S. Senator John Tester said Republicans made no effort to compromise with Democrats and put forth a bill they knew would fail. Democratic Governor Steve Bullock, who's running against Daines, said he can't believe that Washington is giving up on providing help to the American people during an unprecedented health and economic crisis. The U.S. House returns to work next week, but it's unclear whether negotiations will occur there over a relief package. Another lawsuit has been filed by Montana Republicans to block the use of all mail ballots for the November 3rd general election. That suit, filed Wednesday in federal court, comes a week after the Trump presidential campaign, and several GOP groups filed a similar lawsuit. U.S. District Judge Dana Christensen of Missoula has consolidated the two suits. He'll hold a hearing September 22nd on the request. Election officials in 46 of Montana's 56 counties are already preparing to mail ballots to all registered voters on October 9th. Today's lawsuit claims that voters in all mail-in ballot counties will have an unfair advantage for voting over citizens in other counties. As many as 28 homes were lost in the Bridger Foothills wildfire, each with a story of their own. MTN's Cody Boyer is at the burn area after finding one homeowner who lost something precious to him, but was helped in a big way to get it back.
Bill Feniger and his wife have called this their home for 18 years. When that wall of fire came up to his house, he did not expect what would happen next.
There isn't a picture frame, there isn't a dish, there isn't a fork, there's nothing.
Bill Feniger says he was golfing with a friend when he looked up and saw smoke creeping towards his home.
It was clear as day, little bloom of smoke, nothing major. Within 20 minutes, we saw flames climbing up the mountain. By the time I got home, the bloom was quite big, and the fire was at the top of the hill.
The smoke only grew.
My wife and I hadn't planned on leaving, but we thought, well, it's going to be high. We threw some stuff in a little bag, jumped in the car, and left.
That was the last time Bill says he saw his home intact, except for a Nest surveillance camera, which captured the final 8 seconds before wind and fire took it away.
Last live picture was at 341. My trees in my patio, my aspens were bent over almost to the ground. The firemen tell me that the wind was probably 100 miles an hour and it was probably 2,000 degrees. There's absolutely nothing left at our house except an old ashtray from my mother.
And a family urn still in the yard.
It was just unbelievable. It was just all melted and holes in it.
But an image rose from the other photos taken by Bill's flip phone, his American flag, tattered but intact.
And to drive down the driveway when I took that picture of that tattered flag, it was very emotional.
My first instinct was we help these people, we get them back on their feet, and we give them hope.
Unknown to Bill, Sheriff Brian Gutkin saw an empty flagpole, the tattered flag now gone, and remembered a special flag at home.
It was one of the leftover ones from Jake Allmendinger. What happens is every time we stand watch over one of our people, we have a flag over the casket, and we replace that flag every time a shift changes.
Which he saw made it to the Fenigers flagpole. Not for him to do the favor, but as a sign of hope.
It's special, definitely. I mean, you're the first one that I've told that to. I thought no better place for Jake's flag to be than out here.
It's really very touching, and I can't even express to him how much it meant to us, what he did.
Bill says the next step is the only step. Move forward with the help of an entire community.
I didn't think at 73 I'd be still growing, but this is an experience that shows you had never stopped growing.
Thankfully, they had insurance for this house. In Gallatin County, Cody Boyer, MTN News.
Well, Deputy Jake Allmendinger worked with the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office and tragically lost his life last winter while trying to save someone else's life. It has been days since an arson heavily damaged the People's Center in Pablo, where many of the Native American museum artifacts were stored. Today, the center is realizing just how much was lost in those flames. MTN's Jill Valley had a chance to survey some of the damage today as the community prepares to come back from tragedy.
You can still see Chief Alexander through the ruins of his portrait. As today, employees of the People Center in Pablo go through part of the facility that was hardest hit by Sunday's arson.
The damage is it's horrific.
Priceless artifacts from the museum were spared in the fire. You can see them here behind soot and water-streaked glass. They've now been removed, and they're at the Salish Kootenai College drying out and airing out. But the loss is greater.
I'm happy that these articles have survived and they will still be with us. But my heart hurts at the loss of what we lost in the repository.
Today was the first day staff got to go into the repository and carefully take out items. Many are still water-soaked, most covered in soot. It will take days, if not longer, before the true extent of the damage is known. And beyond the physical damage is the emotional kind.
It sounds funny. You're grieving over your job, but when you've been here for as long as I have, you put a lot of yourself into your job. And we've seen employees come and go, and it's just been me and Marie for the last 17 years. It's pretty tough.
Marie Terosian is the program manager. Her office destroyed in the fire. She had to watch it all happen Sunday night. But support from other museums and from the community illustrates how important this center is to the people of the Mission Valley. And sometimes, in the face of a crisis, a community grows stronger.
People express their hurt, their anger, their support, their love for everybody here and for the tribes and for the center as a whole. I just think it's going to give us strength.
In Pablo, Jill Valley, MTN News.
Well, Billings is getting a big boost to help make two major projects come to life. Announced today, the city has been awarded $11.6 million in federal build grant funds. Those funds from the U.S. Department of Transportation will fully construct the inner belt loop and the Skyline Trail. The inner loop will connect Billings Heights with West Billings, and the Skyline Trail will connect Swords Park with Zimmerman Park, providing around 7 miles of continuous trail. The build grant will be supplemented with $7 million in local funds and an $85,000 donation from Billings TrailNet. Billings Mayor Bill Cole thanked Montana's congressional delegation and community partners, saying, quote, "This is a day we've been hoping and praying for years." Still to come on the MTN 9 o'clock news, add a little zest to your kitchen. We'll take you to a new store with gadgets galore. But first, Bob McGuire's in next with your full 7-day forecast.